A good Rosh Hashanah sermon usually begins with a personal, uplifting story from the past year that captures everyone's attention and introduces the topic in a really creative way. A really good one is compact and complex. The problem is this. This year, a single story cannot possibly express the emotions and the experiences of the past 12 months. On Simchat Torah, October 7th, as our season of celebration reached its festive conclusion of gratitude and renewal, as we know, Hamas propelled Israel and all of us into this year of war and suffering, captivity and murder, confusion, doubt, depression, despair, and hopelessness. It's compounded by so much. Just yesterday, hundreds of missiles fired on Israel from Iran, escalated fighting on Israel's northern border, and a terrorist attack in Jaffa, all on the same day. An unprecedented rise since the Holocaust in anti-Semitism, racism, and prejudice of all kinds. The polarized political landscape of our country, an epidemic of gun violence, the climate crisis, and all the personal struggles that we face. Illnesses that afflict our bodies and our mental well-being, grief and addiction, the need to ask and give forgiveness. The list of things that feel hopeless goes on and on. But of course, there were also great joys. There were graduations and new babies and goals that were achieved. For many, even these, however, were tempered, like when the glass is broken at a wedding ceremony. We celebrate and then remember, oh yeah, shattered world. There were demonstrations on the streets of Tel Aviv, on the college campuses of America, and in the midst of it all, daily demonstrations too. So many small acts of kindness and generosity, each a demonstration of human resiliency and hope. Tonight, as we begin to talk about the year that has been and our hopes for the year to come, it feels like it might help to start with the sermon's conclusion, the nechemta, the traditional uplift that comes at the end. So, spoiler alert. The conclusion comes from tomorrow's Haftarah portion, when the prophet Jeremiah delivers God's message at a time when we were bereft of hope. Yesh tikva la'acharitech ne'um Adonai. There is hope for your future, God declares. 2,500 years ago, Jeremiah spoke to the Jews. They were exiled from Israel to Babylonia. Their sacred, sovereign capital of Jerusalem was in rubble. His words, Yesh tikva la'acharitech, there is hope for your future, must have been a source of comfort for some. For others, imagining hope was an insurmountable challenge. Surely someone said, living Jewish life in this condition is impossible. Perhaps someone else responded with angry, hateful words. Some likely became depressed and never left the bed or refused to speak or eat. We have been these people saying it is hopeless to hope. And we are also among those inspired by Jeremiah, choosing to believe the sacred promise. There will be hope for the future, for each person, for the Jewish people, and for the world. Hope is not wishing for good weather during Tashlich tomorrow, or that a favorite team will win a certain championship game. Hope is not the same as optimism. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks is well known for his teaching, optimism is the belief that things will get better. Hope is the belief that together we can make things better. Hope is active and requires strength and courage, patience and practice. Hope animates our curiosity. As Edith Eger, a Holocaust survivor, reflects in her book, hope is the boldest act of imagination I know. To hope is to respond to the world with creativity, with action. The historian Rebecca Solnit writes, hope is not a lottery ticket you can sit on the sofa and clutch, feeling lucky. It is an axe that you break down doors with in an emergency. When we choose to take up hope as we would an axe, we need to be strong and deliberate and use our muscles to chop something big into something small. Rabbi Benjamin Zober teaches hope is a seed, and it only grows if we choose to care for it and nurture it. When we choose to embrace hope as a seed with our courage to cultivate it, there could be flowers and even fruit in the future. While the world often forces us to take sides, Judaism teaches we can hold on to multiple metaphors at the same time. We can change our beliefs over time. We don't have to all believe the same thing as everybody else. We can be interested in what others think without judgment. We can ask, what do you think? Is hope an axe or a seed or maybe something else entirely? With so much that we can't talk about together, hope would be the perfect dinner table conversation for after services tonight. It's really hard to speak about our hopelessness, and it's not easy to choose hope. But tonight, as one year ends and another begins, and we focus on teshuvah, on turning things around, we can speak of our hopelessness, and we can choose strength and courage, who are hope's sacred teammates from Psalm 27. In this Mishkan, this sacred place, we are safe to explore the raw edges and the realities of the disorientations of our lives. Over the next 10 days, we are not only invited, but expected to make good use of the time and the silence, to elevate our prayers with words and music, to explore our passions and release our imaginations, to practice what it means to choose hope. Perhaps Jeremiah's best student and our best teacher is Rachel Goldberg Poland. Hope is mandatory became her mantra the moment her son Hirsch was kidnapped from the Nova Festival by Hamas. Hirsch survived as a hostage in Gaza for 329 days. At his funeral, exactly 1 month ago, she prayed, "As we transform our hope into grief and this new unknown brand of pain, I beg you, please do what you can to have your light shine down. Help shower us with healing and resilience. Help us to rise again." She names the cycle for us. We can move from hope to pain to grief, eventually to healing, and then in the future, back to hope again. but we need help to do it. With each other, with God, we can affirm, Yesh tikva la'acharitech, there will be hope, for light, for healing, for hope to rise again. The Torah portions of the season are filled with the teachers of Rachel, of Hirsch, of blessed memory, of all of us. Our biblical ancestors feel hopeless, but they rise with hope again. Tomorrow we will read how Abraham banishes Hagar and her young son Ishmael. In the wilderness, they quickly run out of water. It's a desperate, seemingly hopeless situation. But an everlasting well revives them and us with living water, with hope. Gadir Khani, a 21st century descendant of Ishmael, a Palestinian citizen of Israel and award-winning peace activist, spoke about her hope on a Hebrew Union College webinar this past November. So how can hope grow in these fields of blood and trauma? I honestly don't know. Hope is the only option left for us to deal with the circle of hate that is continuously expanding. Hope is the only option for those of us who live in the difficult reality that is the Holy Land. Through this immense pain, hope is not only a privilege, but an obligation. We must wake each morning and choose healing, comfort, empathy, and hope. Which brings us to Israel's national anthem, Hatikva, the hope. It is a daily reminder for all its citizens, for Jews around the world, to wake each morning and choose hope. The words still inspire us 150 years after they were written. Hope is not only a privilege, but our obligation as this new year begins. It's a sacred responsibility to not sit and wait. Hope is something to do when it feels like we can't do anything. It's been really hard since October 7th for me, and perhaps for you too, to hear the melody of Hatikva, because it evokes so many conflicting emotions. Israel's deep internal political struggles, playing out in its wars on multiple fronts, can make it challenging to maintain an ancient historical bond or even feel a connection with a modern Jewish state. But this is precisely the time to try and precisely the place to choose hope. Rabbi Andrea Weiss encourages us to see hope as a muscle. We have to work on building up our capacity to hope, even knowing that disappointment may be around the corner, knowing what we hope for may not happen. If we see hope as a muscle, it means that we can train it. We have to use it, even when it's weak, lest it atrophy. Like learning and maintaining any skill, we have to practice. Hope can take a long time to reveal itself. I hoped as a child, as others did too, that when my mother died in 1974, somehow my grief would turn to healing. This January, my brother and I hosted an online 50th yahrzeit gathering for our mother, Judith Tobias Robbins. As we cried and laughed with friends from across 50 years and 50 states, I was filled with a lightness and a wholeness I never felt before. After 5 decades of practice, I recited Kaddish, words of thanks and praise with patient people, hopeful people who trained me and taught me over a lifetime how to have hope for the future. Do you remember standing in the path of totality for the eclipse last March? When the sun was covered, the world felt unbalanced and frightening. I felt disoriented. But when the moon slipped by and the light burst out, sparkling like a diamond, there was tremendous relief and gratitude and joy. The parking lot here erupted in applause. The sun wasn't gone. It was obscured. This is hope. The Hebrew letters for hope, tikva, also spell the word cord. Cord like a string or a rope, not like a musical note. The etymology affirms what we've experienced. When we are tied emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually to other people, it spreads like electricity through a power cord. It's why political advocacy works. One community or individual loses hope that there will ever be change, and others, connected by a web of authentic relationships, bring partnership, encouragement, and fresh energy to renew the vision of a better future and return everyone to the work. It's why people choose to be Jews. Nearly 100% of our students who were in the process of converting to Judaism on October 7th stayed the course. We asked them, "Are you sure? Really? It's a really hard time to be Jewish." And one after another, they responded, "Yes, Judaism is the hopeful life I want for my future." To each of you, we say, thank you. Thank you. You are an inspiration for the future of the Jewish people. It's why since October 7th, more of our B'nai Mitzvah kids are wearing Star of David necklaces. In the locker room, they are declarations of faith. In the classroom, they are statements of solidarity as anti-Semitism rises. These new young leaders are wearing hope. It may not be the choice for everyone, but they inspired me. And for the first time in my adult life, I'm wearing one too. We'll get you one. I don't know who you are from up here, but we'll get you one. The cord of hope connects us horizontally to each other and tethers us to God. The Hebrew letters for hope and cord also spell mikvah, a ritual pool of flowing water. When the path ahead is uncertain, the one who Jeremiah calls Mikveh Yisrael, God is a reservoir of hope in which we can bathe, to be renewed and refilled and re-energized. We can immerse ourselves in an everlasting well of hope and emerge dripping with holiness and new possibilities. On this first day of the year, we can do it, and every day of the year to come. Yesh tikva la'acharitech. There will be hope for our future when we choose hope despite its challenges, inspire each other with our choices, and patiently practice. It will spread when we take seriously our sacred commitment to be connected to each other and to Mikveh Yisrael, the hope of Israel. The world needs us to wield axes and plant seeds and say Kaddish and chase eclipses and to choose to be Jews. In this new year of 5,785, it is time to tone our muscles and use our hope to help bring release and healing and peace to Israel, to our world, now and for the future. Shana Tova.